The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again.
Teleprompters, Vice President and would-be future Madam President Kamala Harris found herself speaking without a teleprompter this week. Let's see what sort of off-the-cuff words and wisdom she had to offer, shall we?
So when we think about what's at stake in this election, whoa, it's packed with some stuff. It's packed with some fundamental stuff. I say rather articulately.
Oh, yeah, it's packed with some stuff, all right. Whew. Anyway, despite these sorts of near-daily performances from Harris, the race between Donald Trump and Kamala is effectively tied. But there are some serious warning bells that key demographic groups without whom Harris cannot win the election, are abandoning her in droves. Like, for example, male voters who are worried about the economy and their jobs and for the most part don't know what a brat summer is and don't respond to the Democrats' scare campaign on abortion, which is about all the Democrats have left these days. So, to win them back, the Democrats, or rather a grassroots group of Democrats supporting ad executives and media types, calling themselves creatives for Harris, well, they made an ad that, well, to say is as precisely as patronizing and out of touch as you would expect an ad made by a bunch of lefty ad execs and media types made by quote-unquote real men might be. Let's have a look, shall we?
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as am not afraid of. Women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
Man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
Ladies and gentlemen,
so bad.
right there, the crisis in masculinity in a nutshell.
Yeah, right there. The
Right
end,
there, the
the
whole
end
thing.
of the election.
The-
Donald Trump's won in a
I
landslide.
tell you what, guys,
Take it
though,
from
this
me.
was
There you
like,
go.
this ad, those 90 seconds were like one of those awful white dudes for Harris Zoom calls come to life. Look, every single thing about... Everything about this ad was wrong. From the guy who was talking about eating carburetors for breakfast, and by the way, a car has not been sold in the U.S. with a carburetor since 1994, to the entire premise that men are afraid to vote for a woman. That is nonsense. Look, let me clue any Democrats watching what this is all about. Guys are not afraid to vote for a woman. They just don't want to vote for an airhead. And even more than that, they don't want to vote for a Democrat Party that seems to think that masculinity and the stuff men like to do is toxic every day of the year except Election Day.